Every idea deserves a seat. Welcome to On the Table, where we explore the psychology behind belief and bias and question the conversations that shape our world. Today, we're putting facts on the table, or rather, why they often fail to change our minds. We live in an age overflowing with data. Statistics, studies, and infographics fill our feeds. Yet instead of agreement, we see deeper polarization in politics, science, even faith. How can two people look at the same evidence and walk away believing completely different things? To answer that, we need to understand how the human mind deals with information and how identity quietly edits what we call truth. Let's start with something simple. Imagine you're convinced a certain diet works. Then you read a credible study saying it doesn't. What happens? Do you calmly accept the new evidence? Probably not. Instead, your brain starts defending your original belief. You question the source, the method, or the bias of the researchers. This automatic defense mechanism isn't stupidity, it's self-protection. Changing your belief can feel like losing control, losing credibility, or even losing faith. And that's where our first force comes in: cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort we feel when reality clashes with what we believe. It's that uneasy inner tension that says something doesn't fit. When that happens, our brains rush to reduce the discomfort. Sometimes we change the facts to fit our story. We downplay the evidence, reinterpret it, or cherry-pick details. Other times we change our story to fit the facts, but that takes humility and emotional safety. Leon Festinger, the psychologist who coined the term, observed that people in a failed doomsday cult didn't abandon their beliefs when the world didn't end. They doubled down. They decided their faith had saved the world from destruction. The point isn't that they were foolish. It's that human minds crave consistency. When facts threaten the structure of our beliefs, our emotions step in as architects of denial. Now let's move to the second force: motivated reasoning. This is when we use reasoning not to find truth, but to defend what we already believe. Our brains become like skilled lawyers, gathering evidence to win the case for our side. For instance, when you support a certain political view, you'll likely interpret news that aligns with it as credible and dismiss opposing information as biased. Neuroscience backs this up. MRI scans show that when people encounter information that challenges their political beliefs, the brain's emotional centers activate, not its reasoning areas. In other words, our brains treat counter-arguments as threats, not learning opportunities. The smarter or more educated we are, the better we become at rationalizing, not necessarily at being rational. Intelligence often amplifies bias because we use our mental tools to defend our worldview more eloquently. The third and perhaps most powerful force is the tribe over truth effect. Humans are social beings. Belonging matters more to our survival than being correct. In ancient times, being expelled from the tribe could mean death. Today, it just means social isolation, but emotionally it feels similar. So when a new fact threatens our group identity, our religion, political party, or community, we subconsciously protect belonging before we protect accuracy. Sociologists call this identity protective cognition. Changing your mind publicly can make you feel like betraying your people. That's why debates rarely end in conversion. You can't argue someone out of who they think they are. And that line brings us to the heart of today's topic. Think about the last time you tried to correct someone online. Did your carefully researched facts change their opinion? Probably not. More likely it made them defensive. They dug in deeper. That's because people don't think in spreadsheets. They think in stories. When you challenge a person's story without empathy, they don't hear logic. They hear rejection. The path to persuasion runs through respect. Studies show that people become more open to changing their views when they feel heard and not shamed. It's not about being soft. It's about being strategic with truth. So what can we do differently? First, recognize that facts and identity are intertwined. Instead of leading with data, start with understanding. Why does this belief matter to you? Second, tell better stories. People remember narratives, not numbers. Jesus used parables. Scientists use analogies, because storytelling sneaks truth past the defenses of the mind. Third, build curiosity instead of confrontation. Ask questions like, what would make you reconsider? Or, how did you come to see it that way? When people feel respected, they lower their guard long enough for truth to get through. Let's take a real-world example. Climate change debates. One side brings graphs, temperature records, and peer-reviewed papers. The other brings lived experiences, economic fears, or distrust of institutions. Both think the other side is ignoring the facts, but really they're processing them through different values. One sees data, the other sees threat. Bridging that gap requires acknowledging both. The truth of the evidence and the truth of human experience. Facts inform, empathy connects. Without both, persuasion collapses. So when facts fail to change minds, it's not the fact's fault. It's that our minds are wired to protect identity, harmony, and emotional safety first. Cognitive dissonance makes contradiction uncomfortable. Motivated reasoning makes bias feel logical. And tribal loyalty makes truth a team sport. But here's the hope. Awareness changes the game. Once we understand these filters, we can communicate with humility, curiosity, and patience. The goal isn't to win arguments, it's to create conversations where change is possible. Facts don't fail, our identity filters them. You can't argue someone out of who they think they are, but you can invite them into a space where truth feels safe enough to be heard. So what do you think? Have you ever defended a belief because it was part of who you are? Let's keep that reflection on the table. Thanks for watching, and remember, every idea deserves a seat.